Hello everyone, Lewis here. This will be a new sort of video for me. I've been considering for some time writing a book in serial form, and this is the beginning of that project. I don't want to give away anything too much up front, just to say that this will be an explorative mysticism type undertaking. What I'm about to read here is the introduction to that book. If you would like to follow this project as it unfolds, then please do like and subscribe. One of the ideas I explore in the introduction is a place in nature which was personally, spiritually significant to me. If you would like to share such a place of significance for you, let us know in the comment section below. Introduction to Principles of Pneumanosophy. I managed to find the time to slip away and return to Hazelwood. Living day to day as I do to the pace of city life, this was a time finally afforded to me in which I could reacquaint myself with nature, return to the very place beside the river that had haunted my dreams, the place where I first awoke to the grandeur of the earth. After so much time away, I was anxious in returning. I feared that the wood would not welcome me back, that it would not wrap me up again within its transcendental beauty. I feared I would return, like we do as adults, to places once thought in childhood to be magical, only to be underwhelmed. Then what would I do? I would be a stranger to the wood, an exile amongst the trees. I'd be a prisoner all my days within that realm of theatrics and banality without hope of reprieve. I knew if blessing did come, how it would happen. I would seek out a quiet clearing in the wood where I would sit upon a fallen tree. There I would close my eyes and wait with a gentle patience for the invisible ones to come. If they chose my company, I would discern their soft breath beckoning upon the affections of a child. A child who, at one time in the twilight many years ago, withdrew from the farm and prowled across the rye fields to retreat into Hazelwood. There he would find refuge amongst the forked branches that concealed where he sat in the cool of the night. There where he would allow the chill to dispel his earthly agitations. He would wait for any indication, any touch that would confirm the character of his everlasting soul and the receptivity of nature, alive and unknown. I knew it would come, though what right did I have to claim that which was not mine? Nevertheless, in the gloom, my sight was drawn heavenward. Beneath the canopy, where the shadowy leaves danced against the blackened sky, my thoughts were brought to a place beyond, remote and still. There I was alone with a daunting vastness, with an ethereal something in the darkness that fused the depths of my interiority with that universal breath. It was true. I did indeed belong. I was a creature of the divine cosmos, no outcast. Still, though, it was a sense that endured by a mere fine thread. I longed for the air, the trees, and the river to lastingly enfold me, to catch me up. I felt this childhood delight springing up and out from my weariness. It was the basis for all that was to come, a childish spirit reaching for eternity. I did not always have this connection to nature. It was not some childish affinity which faded with age. I don't think there is such a thing. At any age we can surely reach upon this vista. If that were not so, the spirit would only ever have greater degrees of alienation before it. In my early years, I did not discern any heaven about me. My preoccupations lay inside, and the trees from which age was to come was never more than a feature on the horizon, a framed scene on the wall. Yet I was drawn to them. As years passed and I played with my friends, we ventured further and further, playing on the banks of the river, through the fields, And one day, in the wood, where we summoned out of our imaginations great territorial battles that were fought between the trees, games of warlocks and elves, all the while the wood becoming increasingly familiar to me. But further years were yet to pass before the familiar grew strange once more, and I could awake to the reality of the wood, dense with spirit. A baby is held in her mother's arms, nourished and cared for, and yet it does not know beyond its intuition. It cannot comprehend. Likewise, the great mother nourishes the soul. Yet who among us can see? Who is thankful? Does she not indulge us all the same, attentive as any mother is to the child indifferent to her ways? She cradles some as they actively pursue their own way. To others, she imparts her own vision. To these, some treasure it up in their own hearts, afraid to speak of it to an indifferent world. Still others pride themselves in this vision, unable to see its author. For a long time, I enviously guarded what I saw. In my early years, it came to me suddenly. It was as if the miraculous fell out of the sky. It ceased to be distant and aloof, but became tangible and present. The miraculous was alive. It was not made alive by the prompting of others, or by my studies, or by what I read, but arose in a seemingly spontaneous manner. As a consequence, I was caught up with myself, as if it was all of my own doing. I'd be walking down a road, and suddenly my imagination, my interiority would overpower me and transport me to another world. Forces commandeered this vessel. They pervaded my consciousness, a force of undeniable creative energy. It soon became apparent that it was they, not I, with any claim of ownership. That I, my ego, or what was left of it in these moments, in the face of that vast presence, cowered. But at last, when the spectres had departed and surrendered their mastery over to me, I once more skulked back into the light, boasting of my own prowess. With these visitations, these strangers that swelled up from an unknown place began to speak in a language I struggled to apprehend. I was plagued with these limitations of understanding. I knew that somewhere, from some unknown depths, these invisible allies were seeking to convey something to me, but I could not grasp their meaning. And in the city, when I found myself in a park or under some trees, I felt my soul rise in expectation, my soul that longed and believed even in the possibility of a great unveiling, in which the ineffable would be made clear. I felt their presence, as if they looked upon me from some other place that was truer, whispering of a new awakening just ahead for all humanity. For fleeting moments, I felt myself mixed up with their eternity. I perceived the technicolored mosaic stirring with dynamism, nature pulsating with a brilliance not ordinarily perceived, a language, a word, a thought coming to me. The grass, the flowers, the trees, the earth, all speaking, and I listened with all my being until they once again faded away, leaving me miserable and adrift. I tried each time to capture the sense of these visitations in words, though in truth what I sought to capture lay beyond the words. It was not about the words, but rather about the meaning to which they pointed. The words, in consequence, were to be held lightly. The lightest of words I have found in poetic verse, towards which I regularly drift. In one such account, I said of the Great Mother that all things were her dreams. She is an innumerable luminous visage, untold frames, symbols and constellations. Her dreams are ours, theirs the whole, resounding in our beings, penetrating as a discernible rhythm. Catch her notes in the air of beauty, of compassion, of hope, rising towards a crescendo of possibility. It is too much, too loud. There are no words. Vanity still. Human nature, perhaps. A tomb of gold, stumbled upon by me and thus claimed as my own, my doing. And what do I know? Nothing. I have stood in the church's innermost sanctuaries, presided at her altars, and still I know nothing. And to claim spiritual wisdom, wisdom of the Spirit's own breath, as something of my own making, such folly. That is not something one can devise, and certainly not claim as one's own. And yet, when vision struck and self-conceit overwhelmed, yes, I did envisage myself as the originator, as one who knew. Only my imagination kept me in check, recognizing that this beauty was not of my own doing, but theirs. My heart had been proud, for beauty once perceived in those early years had sunk into memory, my own memory, and there it seemed a personal possession. In truth, I had caught a glimpse gifted to me by the Great Mother, and the day was to come when I would no longer deny that reality any more. I would know from whom my nourishment had come, to whom reverence was due. Many prophets of old have alluded to the fact that that which we worship, that which we meditate upon, is brought into unity with us. The object of my adoration had been transcendental nature, and as such, she has moved from my imagination to be the most real of all things. This dream to me is no longer something half believed, for there in Hazelwood, it, she, they were unveiled to me. It now dwells brightly within. It was personal and intimate and was divulged through every sense. It was a gift that turned me inwards. There I heard the music that led me to that transcendental depth in which I could perceive her grandiosity. In truth, though we had lost sight, though our vision had grown dim, for all ages she had been with us, indulging us in our ignorance, but she had never passed away.